with Tim Tate. He is a licensed professional counselor here in the Coastal Bend to cover a very important topic. First of all, thank you for joining me today, Tim.
Thank you for having me.
It's an honor, and we're so excited to have you back in the studio, if you will, from at home. We have a really important topic to cover. You know, we've been through a lot as a planet, as a country, and in our own personal lives over the past few months. We've experienced a very unique circumstance, if you will, and now we're kind of trying to adjust back to what we remember as normal. And many of us are experiencing anxiety about these activities that we used to take for granted and do just on a regular basis. So I wanted to ask you, what do you suggest that we do as individuals to address that anxiety, to cope with it, and to feel comfortable returning back to our normal day-to-day lives?
Well, I think it's important to address anxiety as an emotion. It's an emotional response to a signal that we've created in our mind about a situation, whether it be real or imagined. But whatever the signal is saying to our body, and a lot of, I think, signals that people are sending these days are that there's something wrong. Anytime I say that there's something wrong or something is going to go wrong, my body is going to respond with a stress response. It's a fight or flight. It's a self-defense mechanism, but a lot of times it comes out as anxiety. So a lot of times anxiety, you know, we're not trying to eliminate stress. Stress is a part of life, but a lot of times when stress becomes anxiety or anxiety becomes panic, it's because we've made something out to be worse than it really is. And we as humans can be, you know, we're kind of good at making things out to be worse than they really are. So I want to make sure that the signal, whatever I'm thinking or telling myself about a situation is true or real. And a lot of times I'm telling myself something about the past or the future that's going wrong, but my body thinks whatever I'm telling myself is happening right now. So I kind of want to tell my body that whatever I'm thinking about is just the thought. I want to know, I want to be clear that whatever I'm thinking, I'm just thinking that it's not real. So I'm kind of telling my body that everything is okay. It's not as bad as I might be making it out to be. Sure.
And, you know, we can tell ourselves all we want, but sometimes it's just impossible to overpower those thoughts, right? And it becomes a physical experience. Are there certain exercises? I know there's a lot of talk about meditation and yoga, practical things that we can incorporate into our daily lives to help ease that anxiety. I love that you mentioned that stress is inevitable. It is a part of our life. We have to accept it. So how do we suppress the anxiety?
So I think just acknowledging, you know, that anxiety is, you know, the fact that you're feeling anything at all means there's more right with you than wrong with you. I think that's always a good place to start, that our body is always responding in a way to help us, to protect us, to defend us. But there are things that I can do to calm my body down, because a lot of times, and I tell this to clients, you know, a lot of times with anxiety and anger, if people are experiencing those emotions, a lot of times I'll tell people, you've just been practicing something, and you've probably gotten really good at something that you don't want to be good at. You don't want to be good at being anxious. You don't want to be good at being angry, but we've done it so often, it becomes automatic. So that means if I practice being anxious or angry about something, well, maybe there's something I can do to practice the opposite, which would be being more calm or relaxed. So the most simple thing that we can do with meditation and yoga, it's focusing on the breath. Because every time I focus on my breath, you know, the inhale through the nose and the exhale out of the mouth, every time I focus on my breathing, I'm paying attention to it. If I'm paying attention to my breathing, I'm in the present moment. And if I'm in the present moment, usually everything is okay.
Yes.
So if I can remind myself, remind my body every time I breathe in and breathe out that everything is okay, then I'm not going to be so reactive. I won't be so anxious. I won't be so angry because I'm practicing being more calm and being more in the present moment.
Okay. And I love that you mentioned, just the breathing, because it is, I hate to say it, but I almost feel like anxiety these days is a term that's used so commonly that we lose the substance of what it truly means for people who have experienced real full body daily anxiety. It's almost glamorized to the point where it's easier to be helpless and to just submit to the pain of anxiety versus taking and making that conscious effort to make a difference. And it is something as simple as, like you said, being conscious of your breathing or practicing the act of yoga or, before the interview, you mentioned something really special about where we carry anxiety in our minds and how we can use that to our advantage. Do you mind sharing that?
No, not at all. So a lot of times, well, when we carry things, hard things, bad things, difficult things, things like trauma, things that a lot of what we're seeing in the world today, and you could be affected by someone else's trauma, and we call it vicarious trauma. I think we're all experiencing a lot of vicarious trauma with some of the things that are happening in the world today. A lot of that trauma is stored in the right side of the brain, which I find interesting because that's the creative side. And it's almost like the body knows that if it stores trauma in the right side, that the body knows that it will be able to be released through creative expression. So any type of creative expression, like art and music and dancing, these kinds of therapies are being used a lot these days to help heal trauma, to help transform trauma. So anytime you express yourself creatively, photography, poetry, telling stories. I mean, this is all creative expression, and these are all ways that we can transform trauma in the world today.
Absolutely. I love it. Well, thank you, Tim, for taking the time out of your day to visit with us. I know I feel very relaxed and I'm excited about the rest of my day.
Awesome.
I hope it helps our viewers and it's something they can consciously practice, but we look forward to visiting with you again. And thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Have a great day.